Rory Calhoun finally speaks out about Randolph Scott after a long time of silence. Calhoun was born in Los Angeles, California, on August 8, 1922. A full name for him is Francis Timothy McCow. During the Hollywood Golden Age, he went from having a bad and difficult childhood to becoming a famous and loved movie and TV star. He had a hard time and didn't know what would happen as a child during the Great Depression. As a youngster, he got into trouble with the law a lot. By the time he was in his early 20s, he had been to a federal prison for auto theft and even tried to escape in a stolen car. It was a bad thing about his life that could have ended it before it started. In any case, it was the basis for his story. Although Calhoun made some good changes in his life, he never tried to hide his past. In talks, he often talked about his flaws and said that his tough life had given him the honesty and determination that made him an actor. He seemed to have stumbled into Hollywood by chance, thanks to his charm and good luck. After getting out of jail, he worked as a mechanic, a logger, and a cowboy. But when he met actor Alan Ladd, everything changed. Sue Carroll, Ladd's wife and a talent agent, was interested in the tall, broad-shouldered young guy with the sharp eyes. He went to acting school under the name Rory Calhoun after she signed him. After that, he got up quickly. Rory's first movie came out in the early 1940s, but big studios quickly hired him for supporting parts. His rough look, loud voice, and natural fitness made him a great choice for westerns, which were very popular at the time. In the 1950s, he was in a lot of movies, like The Red House, 1947, A Song in My Heart, 1952, and River of No Return, 1954, which starred Jennifer Grey and Robert Mitchum. People liked the way he was calm and sure of himself. Even though he wasn't a showy or loud performer, people were drawn to his quiet strength and subtle charm. The thing that might have stood out most about Calhoun was how real he was. Rory was a real cowboy. While many of his friends only played cowboys, he knew how to ride, rope, and stay alive in bad weather. His TV show, The Texan, ran for a long time, from 1958 to 1960. People believed in him because it showed who he really was, not just how well he played the part. Because the show did so well, Calhoun became a regular face on TV. People respected Calhoun for being brave and polite, but he kept his personal life to himself. People knew him for being independent, friendly, and loyal to his friends. He was known as a bit of a Hollywood rebel, though, and he was sometimes naughty. Directors praised how reliable and professional he was on set, and gossip magazines loved writing about his love life. There was a show and a legend in him because he was both tough and soft, crazy and thoughtful. Calhoun was able to change roles by getting parts on TV, in low-budget movies, and then in comedies and action movies when westerns became less popular in the late 1960s. Aged 50 and up, he showed that he could change and surprise people in movies like Motel Hell, 1980. He worked regularly, for decades after many of his friends had retired. This was possible because he was flexible and willing to try new things. Rory Calhoun's real life was full of interesting people, just like the roles he played in movies. He was linked to a lot of complicated people and loved a lot. He loved life to the fullest both in front of and behind the camera. Lita was his first wife. She was a singer and actor. She knew the stresses of being famous and lived the same luxurious Hollywood life as him. When they got married in 1948, Calhoun was at the top of his game in show business. He was becoming known as one of the most attractive leading guys in Hollywood at the time. He was in action and western movies, where he showed off his raw good looks and natural charm. Lita, who was famous for her singing and playing, often went with him to important events. They were one of the most talked about and beautiful pairs in Hollywood after World War II. 5 kids, Lori, Tammy, Cindy, and one more on the way. Calhoun loved all of them, even though he was often away from home because of work. But in the end, Calhoun's fame as a good-looking ladies' man and the stress of being popular made their marriage worse. He was often linked to his female co-stars in Hollywood news magazines. Even though some of these rumors weren't true, they hurt his home life. By the late 1960s, the marriage was broken beyond repair. Lita took a chance in 1969 when she told everyone that Calhoun's affairs were the reason they broke up. In interviews, she even said that she could handle a lot of things except lies, a statement that got a lot of attention and let everyone know about the private problems they were having behind their flashy front. It was one of the most famous long-term relationships in Hollywood's golden age. After more than 20 years of marriage, they split up for good in 1970. Calhoun never gave up on love, even after his first breakup, which was very upsetting. In 1971, he met British author Sue Rodas. She liked him because he was funny and friendly, and she also liked his movies. After they got married, Calhoun's life changed for the better. He became more adult and stable. Unlike his wedding to Lita, which was seen by everyone in Hollywood, his relationship with Sue was more private and quiet. According to Calhoun's friends, Sue had helped make his life more stable and peaceful. They treated each other with a lot of respect. After being together for a while, they had problems in their marriage that caused them to split up in 1979. Still, their love hadn't gone away completely. Calhoun and Sue were able to think about their strengths together when they were apart. The connection that brought them together in the first place never really went away. They chose to get married again in 1982, which was a bit like a plot twist in one of his own movies. Their second marriage was less stressful and more calm than their first one. It was about friendship more than flash. Calhoun had mostly stayed out of the public eye by that point and was focusing on taking things more slowly. He often talked about how much he loved spending time with Sue in their later years and how their renewed relationship helped him understand and forgive her. Ryan Reynolds and Randolph Scott are two of the most famous Western stars of all time. There was a lot of talk in Hollywood for years about being friends and rivals. Both men were tough and likable, and they followed the standard cowboy code that helped Westerns become popular in the first place. Calhoun had barely talked about Scott in public until now, even though they worked in similar areas and were members of many of the same groups. Calhoun finally decided to be honest about how he felt about Randolph Scott, the man he looked up to, envied, and maybe even competed with, in a rare and honest conversation close to the end of his life. Calhoun said that Randolph Scott was a great person that everyone could respect. He moved with a calm pride, as if he were born to be on the saddle. His comfort level as a cowboy was always there, and most of us tried to copy it. In his mind, it made sense. Calhoun's speech got softer when he talked about how Scott acted on screen. He said that other Western artists were greatly affected by how calm and sure of himself he was. He didn't need to yell or brag, so he didn't. When he walked in, the room was filled with respect. He didn't need to ask for it. It was due to his worth. He did admit, though, that there was some competition between them. We were both leading men, both tall, both trying to make our mark in a business that didn't have room for too many cowboys at once. The fact that everything looked so easy for him made me jealous. That drove me crazy when I was younger. He made being a star look so easy. Calhoun laughed as he thought about how hard it was for him to first follow in Scott's footsteps. I was out there breaking my back to prove myself, and Randolph would just stand there, tip his hat, say 3 words, and steal the whole damn scene. Calhoun said that even though they were competing, there was respect and not anger. Being mean wasn't Rudolph's style. He was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in this town. Many people think that Hollywood is mean. You quickly learn it. Scott, on the other hand, never touched that drug. He was nice to everyone, from the directors to the spectators. I was able to figure out what kind of man I wanted to be after that. Calhoun also thought about how interesting he thought Randolph Scott's life outside of acting was. He liked living a quiet life and didn't like being in the news. I always thought that was cool. The firms wanted him to go to all of their parties and openings, even though he liked being at home with his horses and ranch. In this line of work, men don't need much praise. Having thought about it, he said, maybe that's why people trusted him. He wasn't planning to sell the picture. It was a picture of him. During the time they spent together in Hollywood, Calhoun grinned when asked if Scott ever gave him advice. He wasn't the type to give long speeches. Instead, he showed you how to do things. He told me once, Rory, don't ever try to be famous. I will always remember that. If you catch it, it will buck you off, and it runs faster than any horse. He was right, too. It cost me money each time I chased it. According to Calhoun, Seeing Scott age naturally and on his own terms had made him respect him even more. Randy's departure wasn't a big deal. Getting on his horse, he rode off into a sunset that was just right for him. That was the most important thing to me. Peace, no problems, no news stories. A lot of people don't know when to give up, just like he did. Yet, Calhoun also shared that there was a part of him that wished they had become closer friends. I've always wanted to have a private talk with him about how much he meant to me. But that's not how people talk back then, especially among cowboys. We were way too cocky. It was a soft laugh, and his voice was full of memories. I think he knew, though. I think he always knew. When Calhoun thought about how he had affected the Western genre, he saw that Scott had ruined it. Randolph Scott is responsible for a lot of great artists who have worn cowboy hats. He was the one who made the rules. I only tried to stay close to him. Calhoun's tone changed as the talk came to an end. He was more than just a great actor. Men used to be able to be heard without having to yell. He taught me that staying calm and sure of yourself are signs of strength, and that Hollywood shouldn't change that. He said, "That's something I've carried with me every day since." Rory Calhoun's words were more than just respectful. That's the kind of humility that only an honest and thankful guy can show. Even though Hollywood is full of glitz and glamour, Calhoun's greeting showed that the two cowboys were connected in more ways than just the screen. People in the West looked up to them as heroes because they treated each other with calm and lasting respect. Someone named Rory Calhoun died at Providence St. In Burbank, California. There is St. Joseph Medical Center. For this person, the end of a 76-year life that had been long, interesting, and sometimes unpredictable. His death was caused by diabetes and asthma, two long-term illnesses that had slowly made his body weaker. Emphysema is a disease that slowly makes it harder for the lungs to work, which makes even simple things like talking and walking very hard. It is usually caused by smoking for a long time. Calhoun had a hard life as an outdoorsman. He smoked, drank, and worked long hours on movie sets in the hot California sun, like many men his age and career. Even though these things were normal for men in Hollywood during the Golden Age, they were bad for his health in the long run. As Calhoun's health got worse in his last years, it became harder for him to be in front of the camera. Fans and co-workers continued to love him, though, because they admired his skill and determination. Emphysema was something he had to deal with for a number of years. He got medical help and sometimes went to the hospital to do so. Things got even harder because he had diabetes, which hurt his general health and made him less energetic. Even though Calhoun had health problems, his closest family and friends often said that he kept his sense of fun and honor until the very end. Fans, close friends, and family kept coming to see him. They liked how he mixed the toughness of a cowboy with the classy style of old Hollywood. Rory Calhoun was 76 years old when he died, which was a good age for someone who had lived such a brave and busy life. In his early years, not many people would have thought that the disobedient teen who had been to jail would go on to become a respected Western elder leader. His long life showed how strong and determined he was. Many people in the movie business remember how professional he was, how easy he was to work with, and how he could represent the spirit of the American frontier on and off screen.